So I felt like doing some top fives, and I think to start off with, I'm going to do top 5 rogue decks. So number 5 is definitely going to be Madolche's. At the moment, Madolche is just insane. So the standard combo of Madolche obviously is you're going to want to be using one of your starters. They've got 9 starters. Technically, Prosperity is a starter as well, but they've got 9 starters, and you use one of your crazy starters to go full combo and shuffle all your opponent's boards back. Like, one of the main things that makes this deck so good is going to be that Queen Tiramisu. I mean, look at this effect. Once per turn, attach one XYZ material, target up to 2 Madolche cards in your graveyard, shuffle those into the deck, then shuffle your opponent's cards into the deck up to the number of Madolche cards returned. So this is a non-hard once per turn, spin 2 cards back, and anyone who's played Madolche's knows that they can very easily get 2 rank 4s in a turn, maybe even 3. I think you could probably get 3 Tiramisus, but to be honest, after spinning back 4 cards, it's rare that you'll need to spin more in Madolche's. But yeah, and they do this off 1 card. This is, by the way, pretty much all of their starters can do this off 1 card. That's what's so good about this deck. I mean, they've got an insane resource game, insane removal. Another really big strength of the deck is going to be that they can main deck Dimension Shifter. So they can main deck Dimension Shifter, and then they can keep using it over and over again. They can put it in the they can empty their graveyard for it to use another copy, or they can just add back that copy with Chateau, because Chateau lets them add monsters in the graveyard back to hand. I mean, yeah, this deck is really insane. I think it's got a great position in the format at the moment. It's doing pretty good on DB. It's got about a 55% win rate. But yeah, I don't think there's many rogue decks with as good of a resource game as this. So this is definitely a good rogue deck, this format. Then I guess moving on from this, I'd put Adamancipator at number 4. So Adamancipator, I didn't give them too much respect to my tier list, but I definitely think they have a lot of potential. Oh, by the way, Phantom Knight's not going to be in this top 5, by the way, guys. Phantom Knight's a meta deck as far as I'm concerned. It's one of the best decks of the format. It's not a rogue deck. But yeah, Adamancipator, one of the things that makes them so good is just their starters are so busted, and Quirky Mario Guardian. So their starters, they've got 9 very strong starters that are easy to see. I mean, it's easy to get to them because if they don't open one of them, then all they have to do is get into a rank 4, and then they can search off Gallant Granite. And then Quirky Mario Guardian makes it very hard to interrupt Adamancipator. It's very suboptimal to negate the first excavating Adamancipator, but you kind of have to, because if you don't, they summon Guardian, and then you can't hand trap them anymore. It's so flipping frustrating playing as Adamancipator, and it just makes it a hard deck to deal with. They haven't got many choke points after the initial kind of excavation, because they'll usually get a Guardian on the field. So yeah, that's a really strong thing, and they can just put up very oppressive boards. Now the problem with this deck obviously is 2 things I would say. They haven't got amazing recursion, and they can kind of brick. They can brick a little bit. And so, I mean, if you look at the deck, they've got a lot of main deck breaks. They've got the Dragoon pieces that you can take them out. They've got the Exceed, stuff like that. But ignoring all of that, they're still a really good combo deck. They're the kind of deck that will just flat out win or flat out lose, if you get what I'm saying. And so this is a great kind of rogue deck to play, because you're just going to take 3 wins against the meta sometimes just because your deck's got a busted combo. So yeah, definitely Adamancipator, I put them at number 4. They're after the first 2 combo decks, I'd say this is better. The reason why I prefer this over Infernoble as well is Infernoble has to play a lot of bricks, but they can't really do anything with just their monsters. The Adamancipator monsters are actually still kind of, not massive, but they do a bit. So obviously you've got the Guardians, which is like 1900 damage, you've got the Doki, which can shoot cards out from the deck. They've got kind of secondary plays which are nice. Infernoble, in my opinion, their monsters, other than the Gear Freed, the Iron, whatever, the Phoenix, Immortal Phoenix, Gear Freed, other than that, their monsters are just tiny monsters that don't do anything. So that's why I say this is a little bit stronger than that. But yeah, definitely Adamancipator. After Adamancipator, I think I know the deck I'd next pick is Zombie. Now, Zombie's really unique, and one of the things about Zombie that I think is so cool is the fact that, and I've actually missed a card in my extra deck, which I haven't put it in, but I think Dragoon 14 card, I don't know. I know the last list I net decked it, but this one is a Zombie list that I've tried for a bit, and it's not too bad. But yeah, Zombies is really good. Now, Zombies is a weird deck in that what makes them so strong really comes down to this bad card called Zombie World. Zombie World is so bad but so good. Now this format, Zombie World, is insane because 2 of the strongest decks, Tri Brigade and Drytron, can't play under Zombie World. If you put Zombie World on it, so I was taking Zombie World in to my virtual deck. I even teched it into my Invoke deck. I put 3 copies on the side deck and Necro Banshee, and I had a bunch of field spell things, simply because if you activate Zombie World, Tri Brigade, they don't have main deck outs to that. All of their cards say use Beast Warriors and stuff, apart from like maybe 1, which is like access code. So it's like, and all of their effects lock them into using Beasts and Beast Warriors. So if you use Zombie World, I mean, what's Tri Brigade doing? That's literally what happened. I had a game against a guy on Tri Brigade. Actually, it's Zombie World. He had to pass for 2 turns and then I won because he couldn't play. Drytron, similarly, they can't tribute. You can't, oh well, you can tribute summon, but all your monsters become zombies, sorry. So with Drytron, most of their fusion spells require them to use machines. Well, they're not machines anymore, so unless they're under Mu Beta Fafnir, there's no way you can use them to summon out your Drytron ritual monsters and all of that. So yeah, Zombie World is just really, really insane, but obviously it's a brick and you have to play 3 of it because that's all it does. And against certain cards, it's kind of useless. But yeah, Zombie World right now is good against 2 of the best decks, and so as a result, zombies become good. What's nice about Zombie World as well is you can do Zombie World plus Rivalry. You can do a Zombie Rivalry Rock, which is just insane, where basically means that as soon as your opponent summons 1 monster, unless they're playing zombies as well, they're not going to be able to summon any more monsters, because that monster on field is treated as a zombie straight away. So everything in their hand which isn't a zombie can't be used. So yeah, there's that as well, which is really busted. And then they've just got a good resource game as well. It's not the best, but it's good and it's consistent, I would say. Like, once zombies get on the field, like if they see Uni Zombie, which is their main starter, Gozuki isn't terrible as well, but yeah, if they see one of their starters, they're in the game. They're pretty much in the game. But Gozuki, Uni Zombie, Glow Up Bloom, Shiranui, yeah, if they see those, and it's like they're in the game, they can just keep playing. They also have naturally big monsters like Eldritch the Golden Lord and Bailey Drop. Oh, and one thing I forgot as well, another really awesome thing about Zombie is Super Poly is a busted card, and the problem is Super Poly targets. You have to run a bunch of Super Poly targets. Some decks, like right now, in a format where Super Poly isn't amazing because half the decks are like Earth and Wind and all that nonsense. Zombies, you're all zombies, bro. You're all zombies, and so they can use Dragon Necro and Nether Soul Dragon as their Super Poly target. So no matter what the opponent's playing, they can summon this. This monster isn't amazing, but it is good. It is good for kind of maintaining field pressure and stuff, and it's just good that's generic material. So that's another strength of zombies. They can pretty much out anything because of that. And yeah, I think that definitely gives them a lot of potential. I definitely will put them at number 3 this format. They're a really, really good rogue deck if you guys are looking for another rogue deck. They are a bit expensive, obviously. This is a rogue list. This isn't a budget list. So all of the decks that I'm choosing now, the reason why they weren't on my budget list is because they're not cheap to build. I just built my Dolces, it's not that cheap to build. Same with zombies. Necro, Banshee, and Zombie World are going up. Adamant Spade, I'm not sure, to be honest, but yeah, whatever. But yeah, moving on to number 2, I would say that our number 2 is going to be Numeron variants, but I'm going to specifically say Eldritch Numeron, but I think Numeron variants in general. You can be Dragoon Numeron, you can be not Subterra Numeron, I don't know what other Numeron variants are. But yeah, Numeron's really good at the moment. They've got a 61% win rate on DB. Now, this is one of the higher win rates on DB. Like, on DB, now obviously you have to keep in mind sample size, but this deck essentially is winning over 60% of its games, which you tend to only see like 5 or 10 decks of format have a chance of that. And ignoring the ones that are barely played at all, you have the decks that are barely played at all like 100 times, the decks that are played a bit, which is like 500, which is where this is, and then you have the meta decks. And usually there's like 1 meta deck in this position, and there's like 3 or 4 non-meta roguish decks in this position, and this is one of them. And it's simply because it's just such an effective strategy. It's a fast and effective strategy, and it's similar to Gren Marju. And I would almost say Gren Marju is the same thing as this. It's the exact same principle of just ending the game really quickly with an unfair combat loop. If your opponent doesn't know you're playing Numeron Network, you will win game 1 for free a lot of the time. Simply because what's going to happen is your opponent's going to go first, do their combo and leave a monster in attack. And then usually, I mean, the thing is, in Eldritch Numeron, this is less applicable, but normally in Numeron and pure Numeron builds, you're just going to be running a bunch of board breakers. So you just clear their board, and as long as you can attack, you're going to win, because your monster's going to get such high attack. And that's what makes the deck so good. And this is all off, obviously, one card. This is off the Numeron Network field spell. And then, obviously, you can add things like Dragoon in if you want to. You can add Mega Clops or Avramax or Appaloosa as extra deck monsters as well, for kind of to consolidate your materials after, so you have a plan after you initially use your monsters. Numeron's just really, really good for that reason. Like, I don't like the deck. I don't like the deck. I don't think many people like this deck. It's quite toxic. It's not really fun to play against. But I have to respect just how effective it is, because when you're playing rogue, you need to exploit something unfair. And this is a deck that does that to a T. I mean, Numeron, it exploits the fact that it can simply kill you in one battle phase very, very consistently with one card. It's hard to beat that. So yeah, that's why I definitely say this deck is number 2. Yeah, it's just really, really, really easy to play as well. So there's less decisions for you than your opponent. Your opponent needs to think about putting monsters in defense and all this. Should I use the link monster this time? Is it right for me to negate their field? Because if I leave their board open Numeron Network, all you have to think about is activate Numeron Network. That's it. The other thing as well, which is great, is that not many hand traps hit this. No people aren't running Ghost Ogre, for example. Ash doesn't hit this because the send is a cost. Yeah, so it's kind of hard to deal with. Yeah, but my number one rogue deck of the format, I talked about this. This was on my budget list, but I would still just say it's the number one rogue deck of the format. It's got to be Altergeist. Altergeist is insane. And it just comes down to they're in the perfect position to abuse lots of different things. So I actually haven't got it in this list. This is a pretty old list. Maybe I'll try and make a new Altergeist profile recently. But one of the things they can abuse is going to be Secret Village. So we all know that Imperial Order right now is busted, and they can run Secret Village, which is just Imperial Order by a field spell. Then on top of that, they can also run things like they can run actual Imperial Order and anti spells on top of that as well. So your opponent is just not going to get to use spells a lot of the time. And then they're just focused around monster negation. Being focused around monster negation is really useful in a monster heavy format, and it's hard to negate Altergeist because of protocol. And so you combine those two things, you just got this deck that's just so hard to deal with. And they've got a very good resource game as well. The thing about Altergeist is once multi-faker's in the game, it's just hard to deal with because you've got Maliseek, who's going to keep sending cards. Then you've got the Faker, which is specialing cards from deck. You've got the Mario, which is setting cards on the field. Mario is incredible in Altergeist. I would personally say, this is the thing, it's hard to even say that. If you were to rank the Altergeist cards, it's hard to choose which one is the best of them after Multi-Faker because they're all so good. Multi-Faker is actually insane, but Marionette is insane too because it sets a card from the deck, so it's very hard to interrupt, and then it tributes itself to special Altergeist from grave. That's insane. You've got Meluseek, which is just sending cards, and also it searches your Multi-Faker. Silk and Kunk are probably, maybe I'd say they're 4 and 5, but not because they're bad at all, because they're both great. Silk is going to recycle your traps and it's bouncing cards. Concrete is going to be preventing attacks, and it's not once per turn, by the way. It's not once per turn at all, so you can keep doing it. You can keep Silk bouncing and then Concrete to stop your opponent attacking you. I mean, they've just got an insane resource game. All of their monsters are good. All of their traps are, well, I don't know, not all of their traps. They probably have more monsters and more traps, but we're talking about the relevant ones here. So all of their monsters and traps are pretty good, which is nice. This is also a deck, I do have Extravagant, and I think this deck, I personally think, especially with Faker at 3 right now, I think you can get away with playing Extravagant this deck because I want to just get advantage and set a bunch of traps. I don't want one card, I want 2. So that's why I think Altergeist is better with Extravagant Prosperity. But yeah, Altergeist is definitely a really, really good deck. What's nice about this compared to all the other ones is that, like I said, it's actually on my budget list. It's actually a budget deck, this format. So that's a really, really great thing about Altergeist. But yeah, it's just so good. If you're not playing Altergeist already and you're looking for a rogue deck, a rogue kind of slower back row deck, this is definitely the one that you need to jump on because yeah, it just does too many jobs. But yeah, guys, those are my top 5 rogue decks of the format so far. Peace.